Okay, so Yvonne is a financial advisor at Merrill Lynch. She wants to know, what are some best practices financial advisors can incorporate with business brokers proactively prior to a business listing or during a listing to help create financial planning along the way? So do you guys work with do your clients work with their financial planners at all? Or do you know?
Sometimes they do. That's a good question. I would love it if more financial planners reached out to me, so I could get to know them and refer them to my clients. It would certainly help the process.
Yeah, I mean, I could say that when we sell a business, there's going to be a windfall. Sometimes, sometimes it's not a lot, but sometimes it is. And the other thing that happens though is, as we know, a lot of the business owners are using their business as kind of a piggy bank, their personal piggy bank, right? So there's a lot of discretionary income that they have or expenses that they run through the business. And once they sell the business, a lot of that stops. Now, obviously the income from the business stops, but also the ability to pay for everything under the sun with pre-tax dollars. So it's really important that these business owners have financial advisors that can help them make sure that they have another source of income that's going to replace that business income, right? Because that business income is going to come to a halt. So where is their income going to come from so that they can maintain the lifestyle that they've become accustomed to? And I can tell you, really early on, like back in 2007-ish, I sold a business. It was a small machine shop, and a year later, I talked to the guy, and I don't even think it was a year. I think it was like 6 months later, and the seller had to go get a job because he, he hadn't talked to anybody. At the time, I was green and I hadn't really had the conversation with him. And he just, his cash flow was cut off. And after he paid the taxes from the business sale and all that, which again, he hadn't done, I had told him to talk to a CPA and do some tax planning and all that, but that didn't happen. So he sold the business, didn't talk to anybody, and then had his CPA prepare his tax returns the following year, got hit with a lot of taxes. By the time he paid all that, there just wasn't a lot of that sale price. Wasn't a lot of it left. So he ended up going back and going out and finding a job somewhere, which is not the ideal thing. And a lot of the people that we deal with now are wanting to retire. So certainly it's really important that they have the ability to, continue paying their bills and so forth after they retired.
Tanya, can you do a 1031 with a business? Or is there any reciprocal?
No.
I'm sorry?
Real estate only.
Real estate only? Gotcha.
There's no such thing as a 1031 exchange in business. There used to be. I think it was maybe 2019 or something. I don't know.
That's interesting to learn because we did one last year. Went from a house to a building.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can deal with real estate, but not with business.
Oh,
Gotcha.
business. My bad.
Yeah. Go ahead.
We've got such valuable real estate up in Montana, and that is tied to these businesses that Miles and I've been selling. So I've been really trying to learn more about 1031 exchange. And in winter in Montana, it's like -30 and your clients just want to get out of here. So I've been researching what islands you can 1031 exchange to. And it's Hawaii and the U.S. Virgin Islands. So we're going to do a research trip to St. Thomas at the end of August if anybody's interested.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, it's
well, on the I was gonna say on the subject of like, preparing, your seller potentially for what comes after they've sold the business. I recall a conversation that we had on one of these, crowd calls earlier, and I've definitely applied this. You mentioned that it's always a good question to ask, just to kind of gauge how serious a seller is about getting out. Is what are your plans after you sell the business, and that's a pretty good bellwether for if they're serious about actually selling, because you do get into some of these situations where people have put their blood, sweat, and tears into a business for so long, and they get cold feet and decide they don't want to sell ultimately, so I think it's a good practice in general, early on, to just ask what are the plans afterwards. And that might be a great segue into, connecting them with, a financial planner at that point.
Yeah, I always ask them if they have one, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of them, some of them do. And it's like, have you had conversation? A, do you have a financial advisor? B, have you had conversations with your financial advisor about the implications once you sell the business of that cash flow or that income that you're getting from the business coming to a halt? And has your financial advisor helped you figure out a way to replace that? So those are I'm always happy to have conference calls and things with people, with business owners and their other advisors. I think it's whether it's a financial advisor, a CPA, an attorney, it's always good to know a business owner's other advisors or have a conversation with them, so that everybody is on the same page with what the business owner's goals are. Because at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do, is make sure that the business owner can achieve their objective, of exiting the business.